What is going on?
My boyfriend! He's dead! He's dead!
Ties to a cult may have led to a fatal shooting in Monroe County.
42-year-old Barbara Rogers is charged with criminal homicide. Rogers said the victim wanted her to kill him and was undergoing a lot of stress due to problems with a cult centered on aliens and raptures.
Barbara Rogers saw blood, and she got all excited. And that demon started manifesting in her.
There are plenty of scenarios where Barbara doesn't kill Stephen. But I don't think there are very many scenarios where Sherry Shriner doesn't betray Stephen Mineo and drive him to the edge.
I have enough information and research to know that Sherry Shriner is a false prophet. And the longer this information is hidden, that's another day that goes by of another Sherry Shriner victim.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Sherry Shriner. It's been a war my entire life, and I'm going to try to explain some of it. When I first started standing up to be his mouthpiece on earth, I explained to you truths that the churches would never teach you. How the Father can put spirits in people, and how Lucifer can do the same thing. And that's why I refer to them as angels in the flesh, because these are literally angels that served the Lord in heaven at one time before they were sent down on earth to be born as humans. There's also another term for this, and it's called the elect. Now, the elect are these angels in the flesh that have been sent here to be born on earth as humans. And somewhere along the way, somewhere on their road, the Father will pick them up and lead them to Him. And He will lead them and guide them with His Spirit. And He will teach them and wake them up and lead them as to why they're here and what their calling is on earth.
5 years before Stephen Mineo died, there was another follower of Sherry Shriner's that had a tragic death. Her name was Kelly Pingilley. It was Saturday morning, December 29th. A couple of kids were out walking around in the snow, and they saw footprints leading into the woods, and they decided to follow them. And they walked along where the footprints went through the trees and into a clearing. As soon as they got into the clearing, they knew that they found a body. And just like in the movies, they went running home and told their parents that there was a body out there in the woods. So the police get called out. Responding officer says that there is only one set of footprints going to the body and none coming away. And he investigates and he finds the empty Sleepinol tablets. She's wearing her tank top and her coat is folded next to her. He goes and discovers there's a car that was parked up the road a little bit. It's like 300 yards. When he goes through the car, and that's where he finds her name and some of her journals and a note for her parents.
Class. Oh, there she is. What does it say? Kelly Pingilley chuckles while doing a worksheet. Schoolwork could actually be fun at times. I mean, if anyone was gonna think schoolwork's fun, it would be Kelly.
Yeah. This is Kelly.
Aww.
Painting a picture.
Senior Kelly Pingilley puts the finishing touches on her beautiful painting.
She was so bright, like she could do like anything.
Yeah.
God, she's so pretty. They're black eyes.
Mm-hmm. I love that picture of us.
I do too.
It was me, Kelly, Becca, and Brittany. We were drawn together because I think we were all sort of outsiders. Like, none of us are, like, obviously normal's a spectrum, but none of us are within that sort of narrow normal. We've all got our oddities that I think are maybe a little bit more odd than the average 4 people you would put together.
I'm representing Kelly, and she always dealt 1, 2, 3.
We played games a lot. We had a lot of philosophical and like religious conversations and stuff. Kelly was always very deep. And what I loved about Kelly too was she could keep up with my weird brain. I have ADHD and like I'm always bouncing all over the place. She could keep up with me and we could be talking about like 4 different things at like one time and be able to be like, oh yeah, and then relate back and forth and would not be like, wait, what are you talking about again? We'd always just be able to keep up with each other. And I miss that. I have that a lot with Brittany and Marcy too, but like Kelly and I like clicked the most when it came to conversation.
Kelly in high school was super smart. I always felt like a moron when she was talking about stuff, but then she would also break it down and explain some things to me. She was very caring and funny, and you just clicked with her and vibed really well.
You don't come across friends like that very often. Like, once in a lifetime. It's been 16 years now since I met everyone, and I can't imagine my life without them. It really is a shame that it's not 4 of us anymore. We were a unit.
After high school, she often hung out at my house, and that's when I started to notice a lot of the weird things she was looking into. I noticed she was on the computer a lot, and I think that's when she started to look into the cult stuff. At first, it was just really minor to me, or like, oh, that's a weird video. But she would have us watch Vigilant Citizen videos on YouTube, like, and it would analyze, like, ooh, look at Lady Gaga in her music video when she does, like, this motion. Illuminati kind of stuff, and Kesha in her music video, obviously Illuminati, and I'm like, that's really weird, Kelly, okay. Kelly would also watch Sherry Shriner videos and podcasts.
You know, a lot of these celebrities, they don't want to go along. And what happens is they end up getting switched out, where they're just totally replaced. And you know who features that is Lady Gaga. I'm sure you all saw her as a man last night at the MTV Awards.
Everybody stand up!
They can do that. They can morph. They can change their hair color by thought, even though I don't think she has hair because she's bald and wears wigs.
Kelly finds Sherry the way that Sherry meant to be found. She's looking into different conspiracy theories, and so I think the particular one that Kelly started with was someone who was showing how Lady Gaga was a reptilian.
I have always liked shapeshift.
Or maybe Taylor Swift is another very popular target to break down her videos and show where her eyes look reptilian. That was her entry, and one imagines that in the comments section, she saw something like, no, here is the real truth about the reptilians.
The reptilians have been dominating Earth for the last hundreds of years, thousands. America started making written agreements with the aliens. Written agreements. okay, you could have a base here, we'll give you this space. You can abduct our people, just give us your technology. And that's how we've advanced in technology. And these aliens, they pose as humans so they can destroy the humans on Earth. And the thing about it is people just can't see it, they can't grasp it. And that's why they're not doing anything about it.
Brittany, Kelly, another friend of ours, and I were at Brittany's house, and I remember Brittany saying, "Get ready for Kelly to talk to you." And I remember her that night asking if I believed in the triune God, and at the time I did. I remember her that night saying that she thinks we're angels, the four of us. It didn't stop after that.
Dear Heavenly Father Yahuwah, we ask in the name of Yahushua that you send all of the sheeple to Sherry's websites and radio shows and cause them to wake up and remove their heads from the sand. So they have to seek you through Sherry and bow down to your and Yahushua's feet and repent and ask for your forgiveness, Father.
The first time I met Kelly, she just seemed really happy. She was always smiling. And if I was having a bad day, I could just call her and she'd try her best to make me feel better. I feel like the first time Kelly talked about Sherry, she did warn me. She was like, her podcasts are out there. I wouldn't blame you if you didn't want to listen to them. But just so you know, when you go in there and you look up and see it, just know this lady believes some pretty out there stuff. I was like, oh, okay. And I went, I was like, you were not wrong. This was pretty intense, I'll say that much.
Hey, hello everybody, welcome to the show. I'm Sherry Shriner. Like I have always said, I forget more than most people will ever know. Get it right, folks, there's not much time left. We're heading into a pole flip. Get off your butts, folks, quit being lazy. Quit being lazy. Actually do something for the kingdom of God instead of expecting him to have to do everything for you. We're here for him. He's not here for us, we're here for him. Anyway, folks, be back on Wednesday at noon. Till then, everybody, God bless.
I know that Kelly was struggling with her faith shortly after her parents' divorce, and she went looking for answers, and she found Sherry Shriner. The way she explained everything, it made sense at first, but then when you thought about what Kelly had explained from her findings, you're like, actually, let me double think about that, and this is a little weird. But then it just became, for lack of a better term, Kelly's religion, and, everybody believes something different.
While she was doing all this, she was also so very normal, which is why I wasn't that concerned. I thought it was just more like a weird hobby kind of thing.
Kelly started transcribing for Sherry Shriner's podcast, doing it as volunteer work.
I've told you to get super soaker water guns with the orgone water. That's like blasting holy water on them. People want to hiss about the orgone. So I have spiritual warfare prayers for you to learn.
I cannot imagine a worse way to spend your time. You listen to Sherry's radio show, which is poorly produced and also nonsense, and then writing it down. And that is how Sherry got into Kelly's head. Sherry's other way into Kelly's life was through orgone. Kelly believed in it completely. She believed it protected her from demons, she believed it protected her from night terrors, and she believed it protected other people, even if they didn't think they needed protecting.
These are are the orgone pucks and orgone rod that Kelly gave me. I know when Kelly gave me like the orgone pole, she told me to envision beams of light shooting out like both ends. And I always just thought, you know, oh, so it's like a dual-wielding lightsaber, like, okay. And I know that she told me with the orgone pucks, you'd want to form with the smaller ones a triangle, since triangles are really structurally sound shape in nature. So basically, this is like industrial resin that like holds all of this stuff together. Those are like aluminum shavings. Then there's a copper coil inside of it. And in the center usually is like a quartz crystal. To me, orgone just was like another spiritual symbol, like a physical manifestation of people's spirit, like how Christians have the cross and Catholicism have the rosary beads.
Just as with any other kind of enterprise, you have to distinguish yourself. And I think that one of Sherry's greatest successes was incorporating orgone into her theology, and she Christianized it. She explained how orgone was a weapon that God had left for them to fight evil with, and it was a tool.
Go to my website, orgoneblasters.com, look for the link, make your own, and follow those instructions. You can make your own very simply. It's not pretty blues and pinks and greens. It's just effective. It's destroying them. It's money well spent.
So what orgone warriors do is they find places where orgone energy is weak, and they put pucks there, and they take trips, and it's a vocation and a hobby all in one, and they get way, way deep into it.
What gradually brought me back into the war were two things. One, the realization that if nobody stepped up to stop evil, that evil itself would never stop or come to an end, and more innocent people would keep suffering things they didn't deserve. Two, I knew orgone was one thing that would always truly help people, so I supported Sherry and her orgone war as best as I could because I had money to donate at the time.
And when she gave them an assignment, she made them part of the team. You know, you're now part of the Army, and people would volunteer. This is the particular genius. If I could go, but I didn't have the wherewithal to make orgone, they would send me orgone. The way that worked is people would donate to Sherry, and Sherry would send the orgone to the people who would then distribute it to wherever it was needed.
The New World Order hates the orgone that keeps demons out of your house, that repels evil. That's what they're after. They're after our prescription, our recipe of orgone making. That's what they want to stop.
People were clicking the donate button on her website. People were sending her checks in the mail. And that was happening enough for her to make a living.
It all costs money, folks. And so I need people's donations coming in. If you can't donate money, donate orgone. You're going to shit on your butt and do nothing on earth and then go to heaven and get all these rewards for eternity? Wake up. Get involved, folks. You can't go out and do and financially support those who can. You know? Every dime that comes in goes towards a mission here.
Here it is. Always kept it safe in this thing. It's a bit dusty. This one was a letter that she wrote a year before as possibly the final letter, but something delayed her for whatever reason. When I first got the letter from Kelly talking about, you know, that all the werewolves and vampires and such are real and all that, I
didn't know how to take it. I didn't know how to talk to her about it. How do you tell somebody that they're believing is crazy without getting them all super defensive? And I didn't want to push anybody away further. List of things to know and remember because your life probably depends on it. It talks about orgone. The following creatures and beings are real: angels, male and female, vampires, which are actually an alien hive mind, ... you.
One time I went to Kelly's house. She said, listen to this excerpt from this one guy who knew Sherry Shriner. He was very animate about the Illuminati and reptilians, and at that point I was like, what are we doing? Like, let's go watch a movie and stop this.
I just thought she found some interesting stuff on the internet and maybe believed it a step too far, but I did not think that suicide was in her path.
I found out Kelly quit college and quit her job. I found out about a month or two after she did it. I didn't even know that she had quit school and work, but she would still come out to like Blue Roof and stuff, and she would still like be actively Kelly. The worst is yet to come. Satan gets at least 3.5 years on Earth when he's finally kicked/thrown down, but the Bible never says how long the forces of evil are here before Satan and his forces get here. I highlighted things and I was like, what is going on? I thought she was just trying to reach out to me and be like, hey, since I'm not talking to you about this stuff, here's the information.
I remember at one point Kelly was telling me about how she believed in astral projection, but through dreams. And Kelly was becoming abducted by reptilians and aliens, and they were doing horrible things to her. I specifically said, I don't know how to help you, but I can find somebody that will. And she said, not right now. I was at my sister's house, and it was rather late when Mr. Pingilley called me. And he said that he had some bad news. And he told me that Kelly had killed herself. And I said, shut the fuck up, that's not funny. So I immediately denied it. And then he said, no, I'm sorry. I'm not joking, it actually happened. And I just started crying and I told him I'm sorry. And he asked me to call people. So I did, and I just had to say it over and over. At some point, just started crying hysterically, because I just lost my sister. I was heartbroken, and like, even now, it's been so many years.
You never expect that. Like, how can you even prepare for that?
I just started bawling and bawling and bawling, and I called my dad. Even though I drove myself to work, I called my dad. I'm like, you need to come pick me up. You need to come pick me up now. And he kept asking me, why? Why do you need to get picked up from work? I'm like, Kelly's dead. And it was a really rough ride home. It's only a 7-minute drive, but it was a terrible drive.
I pity any time travelers who try to go back in time after 2012. My very sound advice to them, don't. You will not like what happens to you. And you will never be seen again unless you are very, very lucky.
I have no clue where we are. We are on a dirt road in nature. That is honestly all I can tell you.
This is where Kelly was found, in this area. I don't know why Kelly would come here.
Kelly must have known of this place, unless she was taking all sorts of weird back roads, because I had to do about 2 to 3 freeway changes to get here. This must have meant something to her.
So that night, snow was threatening, and Kelly drove out into Jackson County.
Whoa.
And she parked at a public parking area and then walked through the snow and down into the woods.
I'm so glad you're going first.
And then she sat in the snow and she took off her jacket and she folded it and put it next to her. And the next day, a couple of kids found her body.
It's very peaceful out here.
It is.
So on her way out to the park, Kelly had stopped at her local CVS and picked up some sleeping pills, a pack of 30 Sleepinol tablets. And when the police found her the next day, it appeared that she had taken all the tablets. And later the coroner would say they weren't certain whether it was hypothermia or an overdose that took Kelly, but the result was the same. So near where Kelly came into the field, the police found a white plastic bag filled with her journals, and in one of those journals was a note for her parents. Mom and Dad, I'm off to fulfill my destiny. I love you all. Sorry I can't tell you where I'm going. I don't know when I'll be back, so I wanted to make sure you all knew that I loved you. Also, sorry about the car. Signed, Kelly M. Pingilley. The story about the car is just tough. That's just the toughest thing I've ever read in my life. I have daughters. My youngest is 19. So I empathized with Kelly more than I empathized with anyone else in this whole story at all.
I don't think she thought she was committing suicide. That's the hard thing for me. Like, she did not think that she was dying fully. She thought she was going to heaven to give Yah the key to hell. While she was in heaven with Yah, she was going to be on a panel of some kind. And that doesn't sound like somebody who's trying to die to me. That's like they're on a mission. She thought she was gonna come back. So I don't know. I don't think it was like a I want to die kind of thing.
The world is about to change. This is no surprise to anybody, even those who have no idea what's about to come upon the world. The dramatic spiritual shifts and dimensional mergings, and angelic spirit wars about to happen, can sense a great change coming.
I don't think that Kelly thought she was permanently killing herself. Once you start to look into the things that she was writing and the things that she was saying, you get the genuine impression that she thought she was coming back. It became clear to me that Kelly thought she was an angel in the flesh. I think that she believed that she could go to heaven and come back. And I think that she was literally putting it in God's hands. I'm not going to do something so permanent that God can't fix it. I have to believe that she knew that she could die, but she didn't believe that she would.
And this aligns with what the Lord showed me about the redeemed group of 144,000. The ones who are caught up is that they return. And I told you the second heaven, the twin sun, the second sun is the second heaven. This first group goes there for a time, and then they are returned to earth. And they are gladiators, warriors, transporters, these angels in the flesh that have been sent back to earth to serve as the Lord's army on earth. Eventually it's I see it breaking daylight. It's gonna hit mainstream. This war has been going on for 8 years. And there hasn't been a block of time when they haven't made some kind of attempt to kill me. And it just goes on and on. And so now they're amping up their psyops, and what they want to do is kill people off. They're suiciding people. So then they can blame us. So they can blame me, my ministry. My ministry scared that person so much they killed themselves.
It's really hard to know what made Kelly susceptible to Sherry Shriner, because if anyone was going to be able to be logical about beliefs like this, it seems like it would have been Kelly.
When you find entrance to Sherry's world through whatever conspiracy theory, if you're a 9/11 truther, if you're anti-government, if you're big into the apocalypse or the end times theologies, that's how you get in. And then Sherry explains to you how this secret war between good and evil that's going on all around us. And these are just aspects of it. So if you think of it as the fight against evil, the fight against the devil, the war for the souls of humanity is the keystone. And the rest of the conspiracy theories are tied to it.
I saw a bunch of online articles about Kelly afterwards, and people in the comments afterwards would say, like, well, she was obviously sick. Why didn't her family or friends do anything to help her? I'm like, because it wasn't that obvious. I mean, towards the end, I think it was more so for her family, because she was typing in her like live journal all the time, and she quit her job and stuff, but like us as her friends didn't quite see it as much. And as someone who has a psychology degree, I kind of wish that I kind of feel like I should have, you know.
Looking back at it, I do realize she was in a lot of pain and maybe feeling lonely, and also completely believing that she's going on to her next adventure, but never having experienced anything like that before, I just didn't know.
When you read the live journal, absence of any other information, I see how you get to schizophrenia pretty quickly. I do know that the word was that schizophrenia ran in her family. And as far as I've been able to tell, that isn't true.
Kelly was never diagnosed with anything. She might have suffered from depression, but in this day and age, who isn't? You know, so, no. I don't think she was like schizophrenic or anything of the sort.
I feel like if Kelly had mental disorder beyond depression, I feel like it would have registered more with her friends. Like, her friends knew that she was too into Sherry Shriner, but none of them thought that she was crazy. Nobody thought that she was unpredictable. And that's, for me, the disconnect. I'm not saying that Kelly didn't have any mental health issues. What I am saying is Kelly's mental health doesn't need to take a front seat here without the context of her religious conversion to Sherry's beliefs and the fallout that comes with that.
What the reader will read below is highly disturbing. If you have a weak stomach, please take a time to breathe in between what you read, if you can read it at all. Which I encourage everybody to do so, because these evils and even greater ones happen within the Illuminati satanic ranks, to those who are trained MPD soldiers and useful personnel, and to those who are sex slaves.
There are passages in the live journal that are practically unreadable. And I mean, like, torture porn unreadable. Kelly describes in detail going to hell and what it was like to be in hell for 3 years. She said that she was there.
Kelly was talking about having been abducted by aliens, and there was a lot of imagery, actually explicit talk of sexual abuse in there. So she wrote that these are the sad, brutal, horrifying, and disgusting truths about my abduction when I was a child of 12 years old, about the memories I've had to face and am still facing. The worst of them are over, but there are still a few lingering memories and emotions to sift through. These are also real memories. I've suppressed them for 10 years and decided to be courageous and go through the healing process these past couple days because I wanted my life back wholly and completely. And then her very last post talks about seeing this mark of the beast, this satanic symbol. This kingdom coming ahead is putrid and disgusting to the very depths of all the abominations that could exist. I'm sure Yahuwah only gave me the tip of the iceberg. I guess if that's not enough to stop people from joining this kingdom, nothing else would be. So really upsetting personal experiences, but also tying them into this doomsday mythology. Often the way conspiracy theories can work is they will take sort of a kernel of personal trauma or personal fear and find a broader rationale for them. So if she's talking about childhood trauma, whether that's real or imagined, not looking for the actual base of that, but tying it into an alien abduction theory, it's very upsetting.
These angels in the flesh. Somehow Satan knows who they are, and he tries to kill them from the time they're born. And even growing up, many go through horrible situations on earth, but somewhere along the way, somewhere on their road, the Father will pick them up and lead them to Him.
According to Sherry Schreiner's writings that I discovered online, that they started to have a bit of a falling out.
I think that at some point, Kelly had lost her faith in Sherry Schreiner and in her description of what God really wanted. I think that Kelly decided that she wanted to be the one to ask God what was going on. I think Kelly separated herself from Sherry because she didn't need a medium between her and God. And I think Sherry had a huge problem with that. I think that would make it pretty easy for Sherry to just cut her loose. And I think that that's what happened. And as I was looking into how things went with Stephen and Barbara, and I started to look at Kelly, I realized that there was this pattern that Sherry had of cutting people off and attacking them online. There is a pattern, a clear pattern that this is something that happens. Sherry had a history of not only separating out the people that she didn't want anymore, but organizing, coordinating attacks. I mean, that was just her MO. And then everybody turns, wounded shark-like on the person that they've decided they're going to rip to pieces, and then they don't stop until that person has been, metaphorically anyway, ripped to pieces. This culture in Sherry Schreiner's world of finding someone to scapegoat and then scapegoating them and sacrificing them to the wild animals is part of what makes Sherry's organization run. It's very important to always have an enemy from within to complement the enemy from without.
When Kelly died, rather than take any responsibility for what happened, Sherry made a new conspiracy theory about it. She said that I believe, NATO hit squad took out this 20-year-old girl, and she said that Kelly had been ordered to kill her, but rather than that, she took her own life or she was assassinated or some combination of the two. She took this young woman's death and she made it about herself.
I don't think there's any doubt that she was exploiting Kelly's death. For Sherry, it was just a huge opportunity to take advantage of this exposure. I think Sherry saw this as like her big chance to get more followers. And so that's how she responded.
I didn't really have an opinion on Sherry Shriner until after.
What's your opinion of her after?
I think Sherry Shriner is a predator. And like the epitome of evil.
Kelly believed Sherry Shriner just without question. And I think Sherry Shriner took advantage of that.
Sherry didn't kill anybody. Sherry didn't put the gun in Stephen's hands. She didn't tell Kelly to go out into that field. But she still is responsible. This is Sherry put the person on the path and then withdrew her aid. I think that's where these things keep happening. It's not so much the nuttiness as it is the duplicity, the enjoying betraying people, the furthering your ministry by betraying people. That is what makes Sherry different from just some, lunatic who says everybody should kill themselves.
And they've taught Christians to be soft on evil, to lay out the floor mat for evil, and to never stand up against it. When the Father asks in Psalms, who will stand up for me against the evil and the wicked? I will. I'm not afraid to stand up against the evil and wicked, because you know what? I'd rather die fighting for what's right than have to live with what's wrong.
Depending upon who you ask, Sherry is this evil cult leader, or she's literally the daughter of God.
Sherry was fearless. I learned a lot from Sherry. But then the other side is, who's Sherry?
Oh my. I live on a child town, but you know what? I lead a lot of smart people. And it's angering Satan and his offspring on earth.
What I can tell you is the heresy that Sherry was presenting is 100% counter to the gospel.
Don't come against me, folks. You will die. Fair warning.
Và đây là cú sút. Bóng văng ra, thủ môn đã cứu thua rất xuất sắc vì anh ấy không thể bắt gọn nó.